Last week, I told you about the jackhammer job, the day I almost quit before I even started. Today, I'm going to tell you about the lesson that defined my entire career, the lesson that I carried for 30 years, the lesson I thought about every single time I bent a piece of pipe or landed a wire. It came from a man named Billy Joe Potts, a legend, a perfectionist, and the best teacher I ever had. And for 15 years after he gave me that lesson, I stood in North Carolina steel mill with my road dog, Kevin K-Dog McKinney. And we proved that lesson worked. This is episode 4, the nigger rigging rule. So when I was with Economy, they put me after that summer job, we got back into the shop. And Steve and went with his own journeyman. His name was Butch something Walton, I think it was last name. So him and Steve was paired up as Journeyman and Apprentice, and Tim Andrews ended up got with an old timer named Larry, uh, uh, a New Yorker, old New Yorker, but he was from upstate New York, and Tim was from the city, and they really didn't get along. But me, I was stuck at the shop. So I didn't have a journeyman. The only time I got out the shop was to do bull work. And that's to pull wire, dig a hole or something like that. So anyway, I was at the shop sorting materials, and I thought I wasn't learning nothing at the time. And I used to complain a lot. And so it was an old head named Jerry Luke. And Jerry Luke come in the shop one day and he needed some material. And I was complaining to Jerry about how Steve and Tim go off every day with their journeyman and they learning something. And I'm stuck here at the shop and I wasn't learning anything. So anyway, he told me, he was like, Andre, you learning way more than they are. See, he said they on the job and they only stuck with the material or the stuff they doing at the time. He said, you at the shop, you sorting away material and putting it back on the shelf, and you're exposed to everything. You know, you see all the parts, you see the parts name. And long story short, he was right. So after a while of sitting there at the shop, going back and forth working at that shop, um, Billy Wiggins told me that I was going to work with Billy Joe. And I seen Billy Joe a lot from me being at the shop. You know, he'll come in every now and then. He wouldn't come in often, but he'll come in every now and then. But he was a legend at that shop. And at that shop, it was divided. The shop had Billy Wiggins, the owner, and under him, it was his son. So the shop had like two umbrellas. So you had Billy Wiggins' side, then Billy Joe Potts' side. And so both of them, Billy Joe Potts and Billy Wiggins, went to school together and they worked at that shop together and they came through the trade together. So they knew each other real well. So under Billy Wiggins' umbrella was his son and Joey dudes under him, Monty, Dale, Steve, Kurt. It was a whole list of them. And they did mostly the speedway work. It was fast. They could get the job done in no time fast, but it's gonna be sloppy. They're gonna cut corners, they're gonna do all that. And they got away with it because Joey was Billy's son. So they could cut corners and they could do that. So anyway, under Billy Joe tree, you had Butch, Rob, and a whole bunch of them. And most come from under Billy Joe tree. Couple other guys. So anyway, the once I got with Billy Joe, Billy Wiggins told me, "Hey, you riding with Billy Joe, and this is his last job, and you're his last apprentice. And after these 40 years, y'all going together." So anyway, So when I got with Billy Joe, our first job was a simple job. We just had to go around the Dugan's restaurant, and he was like, grab the ladder. So I grabbed the ladder, and he's sitting up there. He had to fix a ballast and a light. And he did it in no time, 3 minutes at the most. But I was just standing there looking for something, approval to fit in, just something. But he just stood there and made me just watch. So anyway, um, by this time, I had rented an apartment from the shop. I lived right around the corner from the shop, next to the shop, because they own these apartments right next door to the Moles. And Billy Joe used to pick me up and ride me to that Ocala job when we first started. And on that job, it was just me and Billy Joe. And he used to, make me do stuff. And Billy Joe used to really, really taught me a lot. He taught me so much. I can't even sit here and tell you as much as he did. But on the way to Ocala, he'd just kill that radio. He wouldn't even talk to me. He wouldn't do nothing. And I learned later on, he was just preparing his mind for the job. So anyway, when we'll get there, he'll lay the prints out and he'll just tell me, like, you work 8 for 8, you do your job perfect, the best you can in those 8 hours. So anyway, it's a cord cap that we need to put on the end of a cord, like a lamp cord. And he asked me, did I know how to do it? And I trying to impress him. And I was like, hey, I'm like, yeah, like way too quick. So when they gave it to me, I stripped the wire and I hurry up and got it done. And I call out, I'm done. Now, one thing about Billy Joe, he never asked me, was I done? He never did that, because just as hard as he was on me, he used to give me affirmations afterwards. So after I was done, he looked at cord cap and he just reached in his pocket and he snipped off the cord cap and threw it in the garbage. You're like, man, I'm thinking, man, you didn't even read it. You don't even look at it. He was like, did you read the instruction? I'm like, no, well, next time do it. So now he gave me another set, and he stood there and he made me sit there, and I remember this measurement right now today. I'm talking about it's in my brain. But he made me measure it out. The jacket is 1.5 inches. You're supposed to strip it out. Then you strip each conductor 3/16 of an inch. And then you put it in that cord cap and you tighten that screw down like hell, like your life depended on it. But so now back in the van, he told me one day his voice dropped real low. He's like, Andre, they had this word in our trade called nigger rigging. And he said, as a black man, that's the first thing they're going to think of when they see you. He said, I'm going to teach you this trade. You'll never have to worry about that again. And, bro, the weight of that word when he said it to me, it's like history was placed on my shoulder. He said it as more of a dare or a challenge. He never said it again. But since then, he taught me to make my work so clean, undeniable, that nobody could ever, ever make me think that I do sloppy work. Because every lesson he gave me, I paid the full price. I'm talking about, I remember one time he asked me to go, we was wiring a shed, and he told me to go get him 17 feet of Romex. And so I go over there, and when I pull it off, I learned a trick. You measure your arms out from fingertip to fingertips is 6 feet. So I went over there, I did one pull, boom, another one, boom. Then I did a third, and I reached over there and clipped it off, cut the wire off, and I went back over there and I handed him that wire. And then when I handed him that wire, he took out his tape measure and he measured it. The wire was over 17 feet. It was 19 feet and some change. 19 feet, 19.6. You might as well say I shot the Pope that day. He went off on me. He like, you gotta follow in direction. If I go tell you to do a task, you come back with the task at hand. He got on me bad. And then afterwards, like I said, just as hard as he was on me, he would give me affirmation. He would tell me, hey, you're an electrician. You're not an estimator. Don't guess at what you're supposed to do. And the same thing, like I said earlier, about the time. He never would rush me. He would never rush. He would tell me, take your time because you're a journeyman. You don't know how long it's supposed to take you to get something done. But when you're done, it's supposed to be to your best ability. I'm talking about to your very best. And one thing about him, he didn't care about the price of the lesson, how much it cost me. Because later on, I have another story where I seen he didn't care about the value of that lesson. And I was supposed to tell you about the North Carolina story in this episode, but I'll wait and give you that on the next one. But here go the lesson. Billy Joe gave me the ugly truth. They expect nigger rigging work from me. And he also gave me the answer. Make my work so clean that they can't say nothing. Because your name is your currency and your tools will rust and your checks get spent. The job ends. But your name, the way you carried it, the quality of your work, the respect you command, that's travel faster than you do. So, but you always make your work clean. I remember these lessons, man. Well, this is Gator. I'll see you until next time. And next week, I tell you, I finished that North Carolina job.